My name is Charney. I'm delighted to be here. I particularly enjoy working in organizations such as yours, as I do working in healthcare and teaching. And what I find that those three organizations have are people with great passion who really want to do good things for their clients, all of whom are people. And those organizations generally tend to be really functional. But of course, like any other organization, our organizations seldom deliver perfection day in and day out. And so what I wanted to do with you today was just to explore why we don't do that day in and day out. For me, there are a number of reasons, but we would look at two of them today. The first one is the fact that the way we run our organizations, or the way we create organizations, is to divide in many ways. We have a number of facilities, we have different departments, and at the other divisions we have management, and we have people that actually are frontline workers who are, in your case, in a union. And what often happens in organizations when we divide people, you tend to have suspicion between different departments and between different levels of organizations. And that creates some dysfunctional behavior. The other issue is that we tend to hire amazing people. When you look at what people do in their private lives, they do amazing things. They educate themselves, they educate their kids, they buy homes, buy cars, do amazing things. And we tend to hire people who are very self-directed and expect the most of them. But in fact, when they come into our organizations, we tend to give them very little self-control, which actually diminishes their ability to perform at the level that they would love to do. So those are two really critical issues. And so we don't get the best out of our people that we would like to. People that feel good about themselves. And when you extend a hand to one another, the differences between us begin to disappear. And we can eventually focus on the reason why we come to work, which of course is to serve our customers and provide them with that quality, caring, holistic experience, which of course is the nature of your business.
As you told this story about the people that were working below, sometimes we feel like we're working below. And my comment is sometimes as people who are higher than us, we need to see more power of example than example of power.
I really love the way that you put that, and it's a very powerful comment. And it's not an easy, I don't have an easy answer to that, except to say that, of course, life is a two-way street. And yes, you're asking people to set an example of how they would love you to behave, and if they don't, it makes it harder for you. But the other side, of course, is your side, and you have control over yourself, you don't have control over them. And sometimes it works in reverse. I don't know if you know the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, which is the other person, the courage to change the things that I can, which is yourself, and the wisdom to know the difference. So you know, it often ends up with ourselves setting the example. And sometimes you can change people above you. And there's another cliche, you know, you get more with honey than vinegar. And sometimes when you reach out to people, you find that they respond. And you need to be the example, because you could be smarter than other people. The fact that they might be in a position of power doesn't make them any smarter than you. And I think probably the biggest challenge is change, because people tend to be in a rut and we tend to be comfortable, and change doesn't come easy. But it reminds me of a little story that my wife likes to tell. My wife is a social worker, and her story is, how many social workers does it take to change a light bulb? And the answer is none. The light bulb's got to want to change. So when you look at it on the union side, there was a great passion for changing. But who had to change was the management side. Because when you're in a position of power, it's kind of comfortable. But when you have to give up power, it becomes a little uncomfortable. But what you find on the management side is when you give up power, you actually get more power. And I, forgive me for saying so, I compare power to compost, manure, fertilizer. The more you spread it out, the more power you get. Because if you only have power in one person, you can only grow one thing, and it's really something that one needs to spread. And the more you give power, it's so exciting for people to have power, to make decisions. It just brings out the best in people. Remember that our relationship with our union is really important. And 99% of the time, we're not doing things that impact the contract. And so I think both parties need to work collaboratively. There are times when there are going to be differences, which is natural, and unions are a really important part of the fabric of any organization. But for the vast majority of times, we need to sit down and collaborate. And when there are differences, which is a small percentage of the time, we need to sit down and work those differences out. But collaboration is really important. It's just like in any good marriage. One needs to sit down and talk through differences. But most of the time, hopefully, we're collaborating and have a successful relationship. But I want to go back to something that you said, which I thought was very powerful. And it is the issue of customer service. And absolutely, you hit on the point that managers have to treat employees as customers. And I would suggest that we need to go even further than just greeting people, which is critically important. Once the greeting and the informal finding out how people are is done, what I would like to see managers say is, what can I do for you? Because people are frustrated. There are little roadblocks that prevent people from doing the job that they want to do. And it's a manager's job to help remove those roadblocks. And how can we solve these problems together? Is there a problem that you're having? So, yes, I need to greet you, and then what can I do for you? And then I think people begin to feel like I am important. And of course, that's how they treat the client as well.